It's Naftali here, President of Impactful Coaching and Consulting and author of Becoming the New Boss. I want to thank you for watching my last two videos. The feedback has been tremendous. The comments, the conversation that has ensued has been awesome and very inspiring. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for commenting. If you haven't seen those videos, go back, take a look at this link, and watch those videos first. Check out everything that you missed and then come back and watch this video, because this video is going to build off of what we've already discussed. In our last video, I threw in an added bonus, a free webinar on the topic of communication. I hope you saw that as well. It's one that I'm really proud of because it goes very deep into the area of communication and 5 senses, utilizing all the modalities needed to create great communication in your workplace. Today, I'm also offering a free webinar, and that link is going to be available to you at the end of today's presentation. So I hope you watch to the end. And the focus this time is one of my most popular topics, the topic of change management. How do you set an agenda? How do you get everybody on board? How do you manage change and lead the process through from beginning to end in order to make sure that everybody's with you, that the change happens effectively, and ultimately leads to the desired result? So again, watch this video to the end. You're going to be happy that you did, and on top of it, you're going to get access to that free webinar. Just a brief recap before we go any further. We have been talking in this series about how can we help new leaders succeed. It's so important because we know that when new leaders get off on the right foot, everything builds from there. And conversely, when things happen in the wrong direction, things don't get off on the right foot, things start to build with negative momentum. And that's why it's so important for us to have these conversations to talk about what it is that new leaders can be doing, what it is that they should be doing, strategies that are critical in order for them to succeed. So we talked, for example, about the importance of impressions. When a new leader walks into the workplace for the first time, people are watching him or her very closely. They want to understand what kind of person you are. They want to understand what makes you tick, how you think, how you communicate, how you engage, are you collaborative? All these kinds of questions are in people's minds. They want to know what's in it for me. How is this new leader going to impact my standing as a professional, as a member of the team, my standing within the organization? All of those questions are flying through the mind of people as somebody new begins in their own position. So you need to understand, we're not just worrying about you and your success in a vacuum. We're worrying about your success in the context of what's going on all around you in your workplace. Besides for impressions, we also focus on the idea of momentum. A new leader needs to build positive momentum, taking critical steps in the early days, building trust, building equity, gaining small wins along the way. All of those things have the capacity to help a new leader to succeed. And as we talked about before, conversely, when a new leader fails to build positive momentum and in fact does the opposite, the negativity starts to build as well. And you don't have that much time. 90 days, 100 days roughly is the time period in which we can in most cases determine whether or not the steps that you've taken at the beginning are going to hold you in good stead or are going to ultimately be your undoing. So that's why the beginning is so important. And in today's video, we're going to recap a little bit about what we discussed previously, and we're going to add a whole new dimension that's going to take our conversation to the next level. In our first video, we talked about how leaders could and should establish workplace values as a great way to get off the ground running. We talked about how values can serve as a basis and a baseline for everybody's conversation, thinking about strategy, thinking about process and procedures and policy. If we have our values aligned, we know exactly what we stand for and how those values ultimately translate in practice, then we can get everybody on the same page very quickly, and we can understand that with that alignment, it's not about the leader and the leader's desires, the leader's interests, the leader's agenda. It's all about what we as a team have decided is in the best interests of our group and the best interests of our organization. We talked about identifying some possibilities, going through some examples of how your values may apply in a particular scenario. and then seeing, well, based on our values, what should be the outcome over here? And actually practicing with your team, discussing with them what you need to be doing in order to ensure that everybody's clear and on the same page, so that there aren't issues later about why we did what we did and why we chose to act the way that we did. That's really important. That's what we discussed in video number 1. Again, if you haven't seen it, go take a look at it, because we go much more deep in that conversation over there. In our second video, we talked about listening skills. You know, in today's day and age, listening is perhaps more important than ever. We've got digital communication, other forms of communication, and what we're craving for, what we're starving for really, is this personal, direct communication where we feel listened to and we feel validated. And so we talked about various strategies that a leader could be using and really needs to be using in order to make sure that he or she comes across as a great listener. We talked about eye contact and body posture and proximity and reviewing and clarifying and summarizing and a variety of other skills necessary to establish yourself as a great listener, to get that feedback, to make sure everybody's aligned with you and feeling really good about how you are leading them and communicating with them in the organization. Again, if you didn't see that video yet, click on this link, make sure you take a look at it, and then come back so that we can dive more deeply into today's video. In today's video, we're going to talk about a brand new topic, one that I've been leaving till this point because to me, it's in many ways the most important of the 3 that we've been discussing until now. And that is the importance of building trust. It probably goes without saying that building trust is really important for a leader to work with his or her team. Trust is the foundation by which everything flows. If I trust you, if I feel you have the capacity to lead me and that what you're going to hear from me is going to be taken in the proper way and utilized properly, all the things we're going to talk about, I can engage with you. I can work with you, I can give you my all. But if I don't trust you, if I don't feel you have my best interests in mind, my team's best interests in mind, the organization's best interests in mind, and on top of it, you don't have the credibility and the ability to make things happen, ultimately, things are going to break down quickly. So we really need to get into this topic of trust, how it works, and its impact. So this chart has 3 columns. The first one, leader, refers to the relationship that people have with the leader. Do they buy into the leader? Or do they not buy into the leader? The second column refers to his vision. Do they buy into the vision of the leader or do they not? And the final column has to do with the reaction. Based on the relationship and based on the buy-in to the leader and to his vision, what is the predictable reaction that we can assume we'll get from the people who are dealing with the change initiative? So if people don't buy into the leader and they don't buy into his vision, then there's nothing to work with. And unfortunately, you got to get another leader. This leader is just not effective. If we have a leader that they don't buy into the person, but they do buy into the vision, they're 100% behind the vision, but they can't connect to the person, even there, get another leader. If on the other hand, the opposite is true, they buy into the leader, but they don't like his vision. There's no buy-in over there. What do we do in that case? There, you get another vision. And finally, if you buy into the leader and buy into the vision, then you get behind the leader. Let's go back to these 2 lines for a moment to focus in on it again, because I think this is really where the key lies. If we can't get behind the leader, it doesn't matter what his vision is. We're still not going to be able to support him and we're going to have to replace him. On the other hand, if we can get behind the leader, even if we're not happy with what he's selling right now, we can get behind him and we can support him because at the end of the day, we know that he has the capacity to lead and to succeed. And this, therefore, is really the critical component as we talk about trust. And we're going to go more deeply in just a moment. The idea is that if I can get behind the leader no matter what he or she is selling, ultimately that is a leader that I can support. That is a leader that I can work with. But if we have a leader that I can't get behind, no matter how good his or her idea is, they're never going to get that support. So now that we've talked about the importance of building trust, now I want to focus on the key elements of how you build trust within your organization. And there are 4 key components, and I'm going to share those with you now. These 4 components are known as the ABCD trust model. They're based off of the research of Cynthia Olmstead and Ken Blanchard. And I think if we can understand these 4 elements of the trust model, we can take massive steps toward building trust within our organization. So let's take a look at A. A stands for able. Able refers to the ability to do the job. Do I have the ability to deliver? Do I have the goods? Do I have the knowledge and the skills necessary to be a great leader? And that's something that's obvious, or should be obvious, but nevertheless, it's important because if I'm going to trust you, I need to know that you have the ability to deliver. And if you don't, you're going to learn. You're going to work at it. You're going to find the right information, or at least the right people, to make sure that this job gets done right. And that's why ability is so important. That's A. B stands for believable. It's important for a leader to be believable, to show that their word can be trusted, that what they say is going to happen, and what they tell you is fact. It's also important for them to be able to keep confidences, for people to know that if they share information, especially private, confidential information, that information is not going anywhere. It's staying with the leader, and that leader is going to utilize that information properly. So it's critical to also be believable, because how can I trust you if I can't believe that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and that the information that you share is correct and true, and I can work with it in order to achieve what I need to achieve. C, the third one, refers to connected. And this ties into what we had talked about the other time regarding listening. We want to be connected with our leaders. And I trust you more when I feel connected to you. And we all know this. If you have a friend and you're looking, for example, online, and you're checking out reviews, and you want to buy a camcorder, you want to buy a product, and you're watching what everybody is writing, and you're reading it, and you're looking at it, etc., there's a certain degree of believability in that regard. But if I have a person who I am connected to, if there's somebody who I feel a good friend of mine, an associate, somebody who I have that connection with, ultimately that person, I'm going to believe that much more because of that sense of connection that I have. If you're connected with somebody, you're somebody who relates to them, who's empathetic, who's warm, who's concerned, who really makes sure to understand who that person is that you're working with, what their needs are, their background, everything about them. Being connected builds trust, because if I know that you're connected with me, I know that I can trust in that relationship. The last one, D, refers to dependable. Am I going to do what I say I'm going to do? Will I follow through? Will I be there? Will I be meeting deadlines? How can you ask anybody else to go ahead and do what they need to do if you're not dependable in your own work? You need to be dependable, because without it, how can I trust you? And so a brief review. We talked about being able, that the leader has the ability to succeed. B, believable, that he or she is believed that they will do what they say they're going to do. C is connected, that I connect well with my people. And finally, dependable, that I'm reliable, they can depend on me to do what I need to do and be there to support them in their work and their efforts. So to review what we've discussed in these 3 videos, in the first video we talked about values and the importance of getting them aligned and using them as the foundation for making decisions. In the second video we talked about listening and 7 important strategies that you could use to become a great listener. Today we talked about trust. How do you build trust within your organization? And we talked about A, B, C, and D. Able, believable, connected, and dependable. If you have those 4 pieces in place, it's going to really help you as you begin your journey. You might be wondering, where did I come up with these 3 strategies, these 3 elements for the videos that I've produced? Why not talk about other areas? The answer is because I sent out a survey some time back to get information of what new leaders really need to know. And I built these videos around that information. And it's important for us to have these conversations because I want to be able to deliver great content. And my content can only be delivered if I'm getting feedback from you about what you want to hear, what's critical for you to know, and what's important for me to be talking about. In my next video, I'm going to be sharing an offer. And this offer is something you really want to pay attention to, because I've been working hard, as you've seen, to provide resources necessary to help new leaders succeed. It's why I wrote the book. It's the basis of what I do professionally, and it really works off of my own experiences as a new leader. So pay close attention, get that video as soon as it becomes available, look at it, and you'll see what the offer is. And I'm going to tell you now, it's not going to last very long. So pay close attention when it arrives, and make sure to respond quickly to get the value that the offer is going to. You've been watching these videos. I really thank you for doing so. But there are a couple of points I want to address before we wrap this up. Number one, you might say to me, I don't have time to be investing in leadership. It's a lot of work involved, and frankly, I'm so busy with other things. So I will tell you as follows. Number one, you've been watching these videos until now, so clearly you're prepared to invest your time. But number two, we all know that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you go ahead and you make sure to get off on the right foot, I'm telling you, it'll save you countless hours and countless heartache down the road. Take it from me, I've been there, I know what it's like. Same point with regards to money. People might say, I don't have the budget. I just don't have the ability to be investing in leadership. And my response is, you don't have a choice. You have to be investing in leadership because this is really your future. People who get off on the right foot, people who get established in leadership and do successfully from the beginning, they have a great career in front of them. They have opportunities for growth financially, professionally, all sorts of ways. And folks that don't succeed, folks that have a hard time at the beginning and build a negative reputation, ultimately they often don't find another time, another opportunity, at least not right away, to establish themselves in a leadership role. So invest in yourself. Make sure that you've invested your time. Make sure that you invest the necessary money required to make sure that you are doing everything you can needed to succeed. You might say to me that I've already invested in my leadership journey and it hasn't helped. Bought various things, programs, books, videos, whatever it is, and it hasn't worked. This is my response. I can't speak for those programs, but I do know this. My program that I will roll out in the next video is based on best practice research, personal experience, lots of learning, and lots of observing. And I know that if you participate in what I will be offering, you will find tremendous value in that program. And I will also be talking about a money-back guarantee if you ultimately don't find the program to deliver. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's really been a pleasure to talk to you today about earning trust and all the other pieces that we've discussed. As we've done until now, remember, leave comments below. Make sure that you get in on the conversation. Let me know what you think. Tell me some ideas that I've left out or what really was most meaningful to you. Share those ideas. Let your voice be heard. I want to learn with you, engage with you, and discuss with you. And I'm sure that we're going to have a robust conversation. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I want to share with you a free webinar as a thank you for watching today's video. It's really been a treat to engage with you, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this webinar on change management. So go right ahead now and take a look at becomingthenewboss.com/CM webinar. C stands for change, M for management webinar. So once again, becomingthenewboss.com/CM webinar. Go ahead and watch that webinar. You'll be thankful that you did. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.